Starrcade 1984. 16,000 in attendance, Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair in the main event for the NWA World Heavyweight title. Once again emanating from the Greensboro Coliseum. This is the second annual Starrcade event and it is titled Starrcade 84, the $1 Million Challenge. So this was a real opportunity for now WCW to capitalize on the initial Starrcade events from 1983 and to now build onto it and make something of this supercard event. And let's remember, WrestleMania had not started just yet. Of course, that comes in 1985. So they got a real big opportunity here to take hold of the pro wrestling market at this time, especially with Vince McMahon having all his hands in all the pockets of all the territories, trying to take this wrestler and trying to take that wrestler. So, with that being said, let's review Starrcade 1984. And we start off with a match for the NWA Junior Heavyweight Championship, and the champion Mike Davis is taking on Denny Brown. Denny Brown starts off the match showing his athleticism with a nice head scissors takedown, but the momentum shifts into Davis's favor after Denny Brown tumbles to the outside, landing back first. The crowd seemed fairly quiet for most of this match, which was interesting because I thought the action was somewhat decent to start off the show. After some action, some back and forth action, I didn't do too many play-by-play notes for this match, but the finish really rubbed me the wrong way. So I need to read this because the finish is a bit confusing and I might mess it up. So bear with me here quick, guys. So Davis lands a nice back suplex into a pin. Okay, so it's back suplex. I think it might have been, no, it was not off the top rope. It was standing in the ring. Okay, Denny Brown gets the shoulder up and the ref counts to 3. So he got his shoulder up. Davis is announced as the winner, but the ref gives Denny Brown the title. Very confusing. So the ref is announcing a new champion, but on the announced team said Mike Davis won because that's what the ref counted. All very confusing. So apparently what happened is both Davis and Brown had their shoulders down after the suplex because he bridged it into a pin. But then Denny Brown got his shoulder up and Mike Davis was still down. So somehow that means Denny Brown got the pin over Mike Davis. Very, very, very confusing. I don't know any better way to explain it. Not a fan of this match. I was confused. Commentary team was confused. The announcer was confused. The ref was confused. The competitors were confused. Everyone was confused. Absolute mess to start off the show. Not a good look so far. Not sure they're capitalizing on Starrcade 83 just yet. So I gave the match 1.75 stars. Really nothing to write home about. Not good start for WCW here. Or sorry, for NWA and Jim Crockett Promotions, which we know would then form into WCW. But not a good look for them so far. We then moved on to the very next match, which was Brian Adidas taking on Mr. Ito. This was again a fairly nothing match. Brian Adidas got a nice pop before the match started. There was some decent chain wrestling, some decent stuff from Brian Adidas. Mr. Ito was just there, I guess, in the match. Eventually, Brian Adidas locked in, or not locked in, he landed. Can you even say landed? He hit an airplane spin onto Mr. Ito, then dropping him down and getting the 1-2-3 pinfall victory. Quick match. Nothing really to talk about, nothing to write home. 1 star for that match. 1.75 and 1 star. Not looking good, guys. Not looking good. Hopefully the next match can really pick up this show as a whole. So let's move on. We then had Jesse Barr, the current NWA Florida Heavyweight Champion, taking on Mike Graham for the title. And this was okay. This match was getting better now. So great work from Graham early on as he grabbed the leg and landed a drop toe hold and started targeting the leg of Mike Graham, of Jesse Barr very early on. This felt like a very good old-fashioned technical wrestling match. Tight holds with a bit of amateur wrestling sprinkled in there. You know, just some basic stuff. It really felt like a good old-fashioned wrestling match. Although there was a lot of technical wrestling in this match, however, it did move at a fast pace, which I can appreciate, because there's nothing worse than a technical match that moves at a snail's pace. Graham then looks to lock in the figure 4 a little bit later on, but Barr struggles to the ropes, avoiding the submission hold just in time. So, of course, those leg locks from early on coming into advantage here. Barr locks in a headlock, which Graham struggles to find a way out of for some time before lifting him over for a knee breaker. So there was a bit of a slow moment there in that match with the headlock, but we finally got out of it. Graham then locks in or follows the knee breaker up with a knee lock and then knee smashes before locking in the figure four. But once again, Jesse Barr gets out the way, gets to the ropes just in time. The ref takes a bump as Graham pins Barr, but there's no count. So, because the ref is obviously down and out. Jesse Barr avoids a corner attack and drops Graham into a pin with his feet on the ropes and gets the victory as the ref counts 1, 2, 3. Decent match with some decent technical wrestling. Large focus on the holds and submissions, which I can appreciate at times. But again, still nothing necessarily special, so I gave the match 2.25 stars. Fairly average, nothing good, nothing bad, nothing to write home about. Decent technical wrestling, decent holds, decent in-ring storytelling. Let's move on. We then had Buzz Taylor and the Assassin 1 take on the Zambui Express, which was Elijah Akeem and Kareem Mohammed in an elimination tag match. And here comes another confusing finish, which seems to be following NWA right now. So, firstly, the Zambui Express look terrifying. Terrifying. They look massive. They look like they could eat me up in 2 minutes. They look like they could absolutely destroy me if they wanted to. With that being said, Buzz Taylor really gets the crowd going as he comes out. But the Zambui Express are not as dominant as I thought they would be, especially early on in this match. I thought it would just be pure domination by them and then a comeback from the babyfaces, but I guess not. Buzz Taylor and Akeem get themselves counted out. This is another finish, keep in mind. So listen here. Buzz Taylor and Akeem get themselves counted out while the Assassin and Kareem crash into each other, with the Assassin then getting the pin. That was the finish. It all happened at once though. That was the confusing part. So the problem was, commentary team didn't even notice that those guys got counted out when the pin happened. So they thought the pin happened and now it was 2-on-1. Meanwhile, the match was done right there and then all at the same time. Really, really confusing. Commentators were left confused. Crowd was left confused. Another awful finish from them. This got half a star, guys. Half a star. It was terrible. The wrestling was terrible. The finish was terrible. You know, the other matches that had a pretty dodgy finish had some okay wrestling, so the star rating came up, but this one just bad from the very start. We then get a quick Dusty Rhodes promo from Tony Schiavone, where Dusty Rhodes cuts a promo on Flair saying that he will win the world title and become $1 million richer, because that is also on the line. It's not only the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, but $1 million. I don't know why. Is it because the NWA title is not enough? I don't know. But then Dusty warns Joe Frazier, who is, I think, a special guest in the match, special guest ref in the match, or is some sort of enforcer in the match. He warns him to stay out of his business. Interesting there. We then had an NWA Mid-Atlantic Brass Knuckles Championship match with Black Bart, the champion, taking on Manny Fernandez. So this match starts off very hesitant and cautious. Like they don't want to lock up. They're scared to get involved with each other, which sometimes I can appreciate. You know, you're showing that this is a real contest. We get quick jabs and right hands from Manny, which give Manny Fernandez the upper hand early on, as he shows his lightning quick hands. Manny Fernandez then eventually gets color after some shots from Black Bart. And this is all happening fairly quickly, guys. They're trying to highlight the bare knuckle aspect of this match, but I don't see how this is any different to a normal standard pro wrestling match. Is it the fact that they're using close strikes? But I think they use close strikes in most of the matches, so I don't think that's got anything to do with it. But anyway, we get to the point where both men are just bleeding. They both got color. It doesn't feel any more violent than another match at this point. It feels like the color came out of nowhere as well at times, especially if you look at the action from some of the other matches. But Black Bart then looks to make use of no rules as he grabs a bull rope, but Manny Fernandez sees this and rolls him up for the win. 1, 2, 3. New champion Manny Fernandez is the new NWA Bare Knuckles Heavyweight Champion, whatever they call this championship belts. Another match which, look, it could have been worse, could have been better. 2 stars, below average, but we'll move on. I just didn't see the point in the match, and I didn't see how the gimmick made the match any better. That was the problem for me. I didn't see how the gimmick made the match any better, unfortunately. We then had Jimmy Valiant versus Paul Jones in a loser leaves town tuxedo street fight. What am I watching, guys? What am I watching? I don't know. Anyway, the crowd went absolutely insane for Jimmy Valiant's entrance. Was he Charlie Brown last year? Is that someone else? Is that Johnny Valiant? Is that a different person? Anyway, I'm not sure what this, going into this match, I was not sure what it would consist of. But I'm pretty interested in the beginning. I'm like, what could this be? I regret that. So my one question in my notes here was, why are they fighting in tuxedos? What is the relevance to that? If someone knows the reason for that, because commentary team never made that apparent, please let me know. Like, why tuxedos? Anyway, Paul Jones is running away and dropping to his knees in terror early on. I found it pretty funny, I'm not gonna lie. But this whole match was just a comedy stick for me. But Valiant ties Paul Jones up in the top rope, throws several big punches as he starts removing parts of his tuxedo until Jones is just left standing practically in his underwear. Oh, guy in his underwear. Funny. I did chuckle a little bit. Jones escapes from the ropes and takes down Valiant, but that doesn't last long as Valiant gets momentum and locks in the sleeper hold as blood just spews out of Jones's forehead as well. Don't know where he got color, but he got color. The ref takes a bump after a member of the Zambui Express gets involved. JJ Dillon hits Valiant with the foreign object, and Paul Jones gets the win. I wrote you, can we really call this a match? It still wasn't the lowest rated match of the night, because that goes to Zambui Express and the other guys. But it got 1 star. I'm not really sure we can call this a match. I almost wanted to give it a no rating, but I could not do that. We have to call out the trash for when it is trash. So far at the night, the highest rated match is 2.25 stars. Not looking good at all. We then have a NWA Mid-Atlantic Heavyweight Championship match between Ron Bass, and Dick Slater, with Ron Bass being the champion. So now we're going to get into a little bit of pro wrestling here. A little bit of some better action, let's just put it that way. Still not fantastic, but we're getting there. We're working our way up. So Dick Slater gets a huge reception from the crowd during his entrance, proper real pop, which is weird because I'm pretty sure he was a heel last time. 1983 Starrcade, Dick Slater was teaming up with Bob Orton, and Bob Orton is the heelest of heels. So that was interesting. I wonder what happened between those years because I'm not sure. So if anyone down in the comments knows how Dick Slater went from being a heel to getting pops, let me know. So Slater starts off hot and takes down Ron Bass with chops and strikes before quickly jumping out and running towards JJ Dillon at ringside. This costs him as it allows Ron Bass to take the advantage once again for the moment. Dick Slater's fast pace seems like it's too much for Ron Bass so far in the match. So everything Dick Slater was trying to do, Ron Bass couldn't keep up, and it started to look a bit sloppy at times. So Dick Slater gets caught up in the ropes, and that allows Ron Bass to lay off some stiff punches on him. JJ Dillon playing a big role in this match by hitting cheap shots constantly on Slater whenever the ref is not looking. So clearly, I'm assuming the face turn had something to do with Dick Slater and JJ Dillon. That is my assumption here. Slater then lands a belly-to-back suplex and goes for the pin, but while the ref is down, JJ Dillon interrupts the pinfall. And then the ref comes back into the ring after Slater originally threw him out, and he disqualifies Dick Slater. So a little bit of a silly finish considering the heel or the face was the one that got DQ'd because he got upset and ended up somehow throwing the ref out. Little bit silly finish, but the match was decent. The action was decent. Some good heel work from JJ Dillon and Ron Bass. 2.75 stars. Finally, a match above average. Finally. Okay, let's move on. We then have a match between Keith Larson and Ole Anderson as they take on the Russians, which is Ivan Koloff and Nikita Koloff. Again, this is a tough one, guys. I just want to preference this by saying I do put myself in a different mindset when I watch these old matches. You guys will see when my top matches of 1983 and top matches of 1984 come out, I do put myself in a different perspective because they are really, really good matches. But the average matches are really bad. I think that's just down to the mid card and lower card being less important back in the day. Getting less time, getting less heat. I don't know, something about it just didn't hit the same. But when you start getting to the main event and maybe one or two matches before the main event, like the tag titles or maybe the United States title, something like that, then it starts heating up. But other than that, most of these cards are just ways to get the crowd popping, or a little silly comedy match, or a match between two guys that are absolutely irrelevant. That is just unfortunate. This match does have some decent names in it, but it didn't quite live up to that expectation, unfortunately. So, a version of the American national anthem played before this match. So, it's clear that they are setting up again USA versus the Evil Foreigners match. We've seen this 1,000 times. They do it. The WWF have done it. I'm sure AWA have done it. Everybody's done it. Okay. The Koloffs do look far more intimidating than Larson and Anderson, which I suppose is kind of the way to go. They are the heels in this match. But Larson and Anderson start off hot as they both attack the Koloffs while their backs are turned. So much for being baby faces. We start the match with Larson and Ivan Koloff kicking things off with some all-right action. Nothing really fantastic. Larson and Anderson work the arm of Ivan over and over with quick tags and arm ringers and things like that. Just constantly working the arm. And Ivan Koloff just can't get away to get the tag to his tag team partner. It's been at least 5 minutes with Ivan just being absolutely destroyed by the babyface team. But Ivan eventually gets the tag to Nikolai, and this is where the table turns. The Koloffs eventually start isolating Ole Anderson. Like I said, the tables have turned with a series of holds and boring big bear hugs. Boring stuff. Boring stuff. Ole Anderson gets the hot tag to Larson as he takes out the Koloffs. Larson misses with a dropkick, allowing the Koloffs to take advantage once again. So just back and forth stuff with nothing really happening, if that makes sense. Like they try to get things going. Larson tried to get things going, but underwhelming. Hull breaks loose with Ole and Nikita fighting at ringside, but somehow Ivan gets the pin in the ring onto Larson. Again, disappointing. After the match, Don Knoble gets in and attacks the Koloffs with his crutch, and just Hull breaks loose again. Pop for the crowd, I guess, even though they lost. The babyface team lost. Annoying stuff. Okay. I know we've been complaining. But finally we get a good match as we get Tully Blanchard, the current NWA television champion, taking on Ricky Steamboat. And of course, you know it's going to be a good match when you hear those names, especially Ricky Steamboat at this time. So $20,000 is on the line for this match. Champion's advantage has been wavered, so that means countouts mean Ricky Steamboat can win, DQs mean Ricky Steamboat can win and get the title. Huge ovation for Ricky Steamboat as he gets in the ring, of course, didn't doubt it any other way. Steamboat is apparently coming in injured after Tully and others attacked him at the gym earlier in the week. Tully then targets the injuries early on, but that angers Steamboat and he fires back with quick hard strikes. You know, his chops, his karate style that he sometimes integrates into his matches. But then eventually Steamboat slows down massively to his injuries, and this allows Tully to take advantage. And I think his injuries were very rib orientated and back orientated, so it really slowed him down. Steamboat has to change the way he works and sell, and the way he sells this is absolutely fantastic. So usually it's high paced, fast action, but now he has to really slow it down and sell the pain and sell the life or the air that's coming out of him and the life that's coming out of him. And he does a fantastic sell job here. Steamboat gets a rush of adrenaline and finally lands a few leapfrogs before chopping down Tully. So finally Steamboat starts fighting back. Tully gets busted open after strikes from Steamboat, and then eventually though Tully fights back and Steamboat kicks out at 2.99 after a crossbody from Tully. I think it was like a standing crossbody even. It wasn't even like a top rope. Steamboat then lands a top rope body splash, but Tully kicks out at 2.99. The near falls are hitting. This match is going well. I'm really enjoying it. Eventually, Tully grabs something out of his tights and hits Steamboat with it for the 3 counts. 1, 2, 3. He retains his title. Steamboat didn't get the win, but still an absolutely fantastic match. Really good. The selling from Steamboat's great. The heel work from Tully and targeting the injuries fantastic. The story going into it, the story in the match, really good stuff. And all that said, it earned us 4 stars for this match. Really good. As you can see, a huge jump from the previous 2.75 that was match of the night up to this point. Huge jump and really great stuff. It's clear why Ricky Steamboat became who he was later down the line. We then get a match between Wahoo McDaniel, the current NWA United States champion, taking on superstar Billy Graham. Keep in mind this is an older superstar Billy Graham, but superstar Billy Graham still looked in fantastic shape, whereas Wahoo McDaniel looked terrible. terrible. I don't want to body shame, but damn, the contrast was there. Wahoo gets the advantage after a thumbs to the eyes on Billy Graham. Billy Graham locks in a full Nelson submission hold, but Wahoo McDaniel manages to get to the ropes in time. Wahoo then lands a tomahawk chop before getting the 3 count. Terrible finish, lame match, quick match, a waste of my time, 1 star. I don't want to watch that again. Let's move on to the main event, which was Ric Flair, the current NWA World Heavyweight Champion, taking on Dusty Rhodes. The match everyone has heard of by now. A lot of people have seen. A lot of people haven't seen. You probably think just by hearing those names, this is a 5-star classic. But you'll be disappointed to know that it wasn't all that. It really wasn't. The story of Dusty and Ric Flair, I think, is more about the people and the story leading up to the match than the match itself. The match itself was fairly underwhelming, but the story leading to the match was fantastic. And I'm not sure if next year's match is going to be better because I think they do face off once again, but we'll find out when that time comes. So, with that being said, let's get into the play-by-play. So, Dusty Rhodes starts off as the aggressor of the 2 wrestlers. Dusty with some quick jabs, some quick elbows, which sends Ric Flair straight to the mat. Flair misses a knee drop, and Dusty locks in a figure 4 straight away to counter, but Flair counters it and manages to get to the ropes, so doesn't quite get it. A very back and forth match between both men, like no one really got heat on the other one at this point in the match, but eventually Dusty's power and speed is outmatching Flair's technical ability. So Flair's technical abilities are doing nothing here for Dusty. The better athlete, it's crazy to say that Dusty's a better athlete, but he might be, is just outshining the technical aspect right now. So eventually Flair starts getting cocky, does the strut to the top rope, but Dusty throws him off once again. So that cockiness got the better of him, which I think is a lot of what the story is about. You know, Dusty is a son of a plumber, and Ric Flair is the rich kid who came from a good upbringing, and you know, things like that. And then that cockiness got to the better of him. So then Flair gets tossed out the ring, but this time pulls Dusty out with him before throwing him into the ring post, causing Dusty to start bleeding from his eye. Flair instantly targets the cut of Dusty with punches and strikes, targeting that cut like you would in a boxing match, which I quite liked. This is where it gets interesting. Joe Frazier gets involved a lot after the cut and eventually calls the match due to the cut being too bad. So they went for a boxing finish. You know, in boxing, if your cut is too bad, the ref is going to call it because you can't see and that gets dangerous. That's what they tried to do here. Meanwhile, I've seen people bleed all night long here. I've watched hour-long matches with Flair bleeding for 45 minutes and that match did not get called. So the finish here frustrates me, but I understood it. Dusty loses it and goes after Flair and Joe Frazier. Absolutely goes mad after the call has been made. Definitely an underwhelming finish. I feel Dusty should have solved the cut more. Maybe that would have made it feel like there's a reason why the ref called it. But it felt like the cut was nothing to him, and the ref and Joe Frazier just did him dirty. That's what it kind of felt like at this point. But I know that they were building to another match next year. That is clearly what is happening. I just feel there might have been a better way to do it. But who am I to say one of the greatest stories in pro wrestling history, one of the most iconic stories in pro wrestling history, was booked wrong? I can't do that. I'm just saying I felt this was a little bit silly. And maybe Dusty could have enhanced it more by selling it more if that's the route they were going to go. Nonetheless, I gave this match a 3-star rating. Yeah, could have been better. The match itself was fairly underwhelming at times, but like I said, I think this feud was more about the story than anything else. And that was Starrcade 1984. Definitely underwhelming. We had one good match between Steamboat and Tully. They at least saved this card. And of course, the hype between Dusty Rhodes and Ric Flair also saved this card. Everything else, pure trash. I'll be honest, pure trash. With that being said, that was our NWA Starrcade 1984 review. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys are starting to enjoy this this ride that we are going to go on, this journey that we're going on. We're going to start kicking more and more. We're going to start putting out more and more old school retro pay-per-views, as now we get a bit of time between the pay-per-views. The Japan content is slowed down a little bit now, and we can move forward. So with that being said, we'll see you guys in the next video. That was Starrcade 1984. That was my thoughts on it. Hope you guys enjoyed it. See you next time. Take care.